We'd like to welcome you guys to our high school football preview show for this season. It's Eric Russell, sports editor of the Aiken Standard, here with Kyle Dawson, sports reporter here at the newspaper, and we're here to chat some football.
Yeah, football season is finally back. It's been a long wait since December when the playoffs wrapped up. The state champions were crowned. Long off season, getting into those winter workouts, into the summer, but it is finally back. And our area team's certainly ready to go this football season.
They certainly are, and we're going to get into some of the things that our area teams and coaches had to say right after this break for a word from our sponsor, Holly Heating and Air.
Keep your family comfortable all year long and save money on your utility bills with a preferred client service program from Holly Heating and Air. Holly's service program includes priority service, no overtime charges, 15% off all repairs, plus a regular duct system inspection. And should you suddenly need us, we're here for you with emergency service 24/7, 365 days a year. So turn to the experts, Carrier, and the comfort pros at Holly Heating and Air. A name you know, a name you trust.
Welcome back to our high school football preview show, and we're going to jump right into things with one of our area 4A schools, South Aiken. They've had a couple of strong seasons now, and they're really looking to continue on some of that success they've started. And what are some of the things you think they could look forward to going into this season?
Well, it's a lot of excitement over on the south side with Chris Hamilton running the show. And what will be interesting to watch this year is some of the strengths of that team are – you're seeing the seniority step up where those were the young guys in years past. You look at, say, your defensive line, that was a group that was helped out by strong play from the linebackers, from the defensive backs. Now things rotate to where those are the guys that are being counted on up front. And then we're looking at kind of filling in for some spots on the offense. Losing a running back like Chris Roberts, losing a quarterback like Cody Boynton. It's time to fill in some blanks here, but Coach Hamilton and crew, they've shown that they're more than capable of getting it done.
Yes, Coach Hamilton talked about all those things. We're going to get into some of his thoughts here right now. Here's South Aiken's Coach Hamilton and a few players. We're here with some representatives from South Aiken High School. We have head coach Chris Hamilton. We got offensive lineman Caleb Eichelberger and offensive lineman Joey Simmons. And we'll get right into it, Coach. Kind of what are some of your expectations for the season, and how have things gone so far in the preseason and early in the year?
Well, our expectations are always going to stay the same. We graduated 26 seniors last year, but it's like I tell the guys all the time, we're not going to use that as an excuse. We've set a standard here at South Aiken, and we're going to try to live up to that. So, we've had a really good summer. Our guys have worked really hard. We've had some young guys step up. We're turning a lot of guys on the offensive, defensive lines, and I always believe that's where you start. So I feel confident about that group, and then I think our younger guys and our guys that are first-year starters, they've had a lot of playing time through the past 2 years. I'm excited about this season.
And you spoke about the offensive line and kind of returning some veterans along there. You had two of them with you. How important is that leadership with kind of transitioning quarterbacks also?
Well, a lot of times offensive linemen they don't get any credit unless something goes wrong. But we firmly believe in our on our team that how our offensive and defensive line goes is how the team goes. If we're moving the ball well, it's because the offensive line is blocking. If we're able to throw the ball well, it's because they're pass blocking well. With having a new starting quarterback, new starting running back, wide receivers that are new, it's important to have those veteran guys up there that can kind of lead and take charge and say, let's get this done. They understand what the standard is, but I think most of our guys, all our guys, even if they're a first-year starter, they understand what we have to do and how we do it.
Gotcha. And for you guys, obviously, with you've been a 4-year starter, and kind of what's that leadership role for you guys, and how do you view that task or responsibility?
It's big, being a 4-year starter and showing with the new guys. We have me and Caleb both returning as starters. Showing the 3 other guys who didn't start last year what's up and how's it done. It's big.
Gotcha. And Caleb, for you, the same thing?
I gotta agree with Joey. It is a big task to do, but so far they're doing really well, and if we continue to do what we do, we're going to be great this year.
And obviously, another big component to replacing some of the talent you lost last year is replacing Chris Roberts there at running back, obviously. Kind of, how do you see maybe the run game potentially changing, or will you find someone with a similar style, or kind of?
You know, I think I'd be a fool if I said, well, we're going to replace Chris Roberts. We're going to replace a kid like that. Chris is one of the hardest runners I've ever seen. He's not easy to bring down. He searches for contact. The offensive line loves blocking for him. You know, you're not going to find a guy like that that you're going to say you're going to replace. But what you do is you find a guy and you tell him not to be Chris Roberts, be him. You know, and we've got 3 running backs, but you know, like Niquel, he's done a great job this spring and has worked really hard. Is he a different runner? Yeah, he's probably a little different runner, but he does some things probably better than Chris. So we're excited about the opportunity to be able to, you know, go out and continue what we've done in the past as far as with the run game, and I think, you know, hopefully that our running back group will step up to the plate and understand they got big shoes to fill, but they also need to make their own shoes. So.
Gotcha. And for you, a more kind of, you spoke a little bit about it earlier, kind of replacing Chris Roberts, but not trying to be Chris Roberts. Kind of, how have you taken on that task, and kind of what are your ways of dealing with it?
Well, I played with him last year, and he was a pretty cool dude, you know, and I looked up to him, so I'm going to just be me and do what I do and try to make plays.
Switching gears a bit here to the defensive side of the ball, and you mentioned how you go as the line go on each side of the ball. That defensive line is also kind of has some veteran leadership on it. What's it been like watching them grow, and how do you expect them to help kind of lead the way in the way that kind of the linebackers and the secondary have in the past, but kind of the defensive line will be.
Yeah, it's their turn. And we've talked about that with the whole team, but we've had guys that have kind of been younger guys and been able to come up through the system, and then we've had guys that, you know, we started that first year with a bunch of sophomores on defense, and as they came up, in the DJs and the Reeds and the you know, as they came through, it was they were the leaders. And so the other guys didn't have to be leaders. Well, now those defensive linemen that were, you know, sophomores a couple of years ago are now the seniors, and they'd have to take a new role in leadership. So that's been different for them. They've had to learn how to do that, and I think for the most part they've done a pretty good job with that. They've worked pretty hard this summer. You know, we're excited about some guys that we've had transfer in from Georgia and stuff like that we've had come in, and we're excited about that. And then, you know, they're going to have to, that defensive line is going to have to help us out a little bit in the secondary by putting pressure on, because we're so young in the secondary and got a lot of guys that are first-year starters back there. And so we're going to have guys, and they're going to have to keep the linebackers clean, because we don't have the DJs, we don't have the Reed, we don't have the Cavos, we don't have the guys that were 3-year starters coming in last year. We don't have those guys anymore. They're gone. But in saying that, I think we've got a young group that is excited to make their own imprint on this team and on what we're doing here on this foundation of South Aiken. And so, you know, but the defense line's definitely got to make sure they step up this year and do the things to help our defense be at the standard we've been the past couple of years. So.
Yeah. And from what you've seen so far from that defense, I know you spoke about the secondary being kind of young and some of that. Who would you say fans can look out for on that side of the ball that kind of you feel like is going to make a impact early?
Well, I mean, you know, there's the obvious Ziggy and Dez. Zaire Harrison, he's a 3-year starter. Dez has been a 2-year starter for us. He's, you know, they're both very dynamic on the defensive line. Mazzell, he's come in and really taken a good role and as far as that linebacker and replacing Reed and DJ and those guys. So I think Bradico, he's going to be kind of that outside guy like Garrett Pascal that can play safety some, kind of one of them in between guys that come up and make some plays. So those kind of guys, I think you're going to see some big things from. We've got some guys that have played basketball for us. Damar, he's a basketball player that has come over and he's playing in the secondary now. He's very athletic and does a good job covering. And then Perry's done a good job this spring and this summer. But it's going to be kind of by committee. I mean, we're going to put the best 11 out there, and whoever that may be at that time, that's who's going to be playing. So we'll see. Kind of we still got a long ways to go. You know, we are young. People, you know, we're gonna have to understand that a little bit, but we're not gonna make that as an excuse for, you know, oh well, we're young. We don't use that as an excuse. We cannot have where we'll reload this year, or we're gonna rebuild this year. We want to reload. So that's kind of our mentality, and you know, so that's the expectation. And you know, like I've always told you, as long as I'm here, our 4 goals are going to be win the opener, win the county, win the region, and win state. And that's always going to be as long as I'm here.
And that was Coach Chris Hamilton and some players from South Aiken High School. But staying within that region, and we're going to shift gears and move a little bit west over to North Augusta High School. They had a strong regular season last year and kind of didn't finish it off the way they may have wanted to, but they're back and ready. But they also have some holes to fill.
Absolutely. You know, when you lose program leaders, guys who have, you know, been major contributors since their freshman season and at a variety of positions, yeah, that's a lot that you have to figure out. North Augusta, though, no stranger to producing athletes. And you mentioned that great season they had last year. I mean, an undefeated regular season. We don't have those a whole lot around here, but to follow that up with an upset in the first round, certainly those guys who are returning, they've got that fresh in their minds.
Yes, they certainly do, and they seemed pretty excited to get back out on the field and get at it again. So here are a couple thoughts from the North Augusta High School football team. Right now we're here with some representatives from North Augusta High School. We have head coach Brian Thomas, we have Kyrie Collier, and we have Darian Gibson here with us. And just to kind of get right into it, Coach, what are some of your expectations for this season, and how do you feel like things are going to work out for you guys this year?
Well, you know, like I said, we got lost a big senior class last year, and everybody knows we lost 27 seniors, but got a lot of good returning kids, a lot of kids with a lot of playing time, a lot of experience. We're excited about having these guys back. I mean, they got a lot of minutes last year, and were a big part of our success last year. So, you know, we look to play hard and compete, and like I said, we'll see how everything unfolds.
Gotcha. And with some of those players that kind of moved on now, they were a big part of what you guys did and the success you had. How do you feel like the offense is developing and kind of with having to replace Landon and Darius and some of those guys? Yeah,
well, you know, we just 7-on-7 like everybody else this summer, and you know, as far as throwing the ball, you know, it's probably not going to be as big a part of our game plan this year as it was in the past with Landon and DeJuan, and not being able to throw the ball out, you know, and do those types of things on the deep routes. But you know, like I said, they'll be effective in the pass game, but we will definitely focus on running the football and being more physical up front.
All right, and with that running, kind of, how do you expect kind of the players to fill in for Darius? And is it safe to assume that Darian will be doing some of that?
Well, no, Darian's more of our defensive side. Okay. He didn't follow in the footsteps of being a running back, but we do have a couple kids, young kids, that are going to be pretty good. You know, we've got Jakari Buxton, who was a JV player last year, done well in the summer, really worked hard in the weight room, and Malik Williams. We've got Marcus Moore who's come in. He's going to be a big part, hopefully, of our offense as well. So we're kind of excited about having those guys and the things that they can do.
All right. And moving to the defensive side, obviously, what can fans expect on that side of the ball, and change anything up, or is it going to be more of the same thing that's been going on so far?
Well, we'll look pretty similar. I mean, we're not going to change. We've been pretty successful at what we do, and so we're going to continue to do those things. we'll be strong at linebacker this year. I mean, we've got 4 guys that have a lot of minutes. Of course, we got 2 starters last year with Kyrie and Chris Torres. Both are back this year, and so we're excited, to have that leadership in there and their experience. But up front might look a little different, but like I said, we'll find somebody to fill in those spots.
In the defense this year, kind of what are you guys most looking forward to as kind of in your roles, and what do you feel like you add to the defense?
I was ready to hit. Making plays. Ready to hit, like you said, too. Man, that's what we do on defense.
And with each of these guys, you have 2 defensive players here, Kyrie and Darian. Kind of what have you seen from them so far that has you kind of excited about seeing them out on the field?
Well, the biggest thing, they've led by example. They've been there every day doing the workouts and doing the things that we've asked of them, and they've worked hard all season to get stronger. And it showed in their athleticism and all. They've shown well at some camps this summer, I understand, and on the circuit going around to these recruiting camps, and done well there and got a lot of interest.
Going into this season, obviously, region didn't change too much, just added 1 team, but kind of what's the schedule, and what are some of the things you're looking forward to on the schedule, I should say, and kind of how do you think that's going to work out for you guys?
Well, like I said, everything unfolds. We got a big game with Thompson to open up the season. I think a lot of folks are excited about that. That's something that I talked about a couple of years ago. People kind of were excited about, and we finally were able to make it happen this year. So, we're excited about that. They got a great program down there, and a lot of tradition, a lot of history, and we're excited about having them in North Augusta the first game. But we've also scheduled a couple of local teams with Evans and Grovetown, which is another new one on the schedule for us. Excited about having them. They're making a turn in the right direction, and of course, Evans has gotten better every year with Coach Lackey. But then we've got some of the main ones, and we do have Blythewood on the schedule. We played them in the playoffs a couple of years ago, but with Strom Thurmond, of course, that's always a big game in October for us, into September. So, the fans, local fans, that's always big for everybody in our area.
All right, and staying within that region and moving on over to Aiken High School, they had a rough go at it last year in Coach Montgomery's first year, but a lot of those kids that are back are eager to turn it around and have some lofty goals for the season.
Absolutely, definitely not the start that J.W. Montgomery envisioned for his first year at Aiken High. Knew that there were going to be maybe some struggles, some rebuilding to do, a winless season, but from having spoken with him in the spring, there are guys there that stuck around. They didn't give up, and they're hungry and ready to go, and they're bringing back a little bit of firepower as well.
Yes, and we're going to hear from some of those guys. Several of the Aiken High players came by, and here's what they had to say about this upcoming season. We're here with a couple representatives from the Aiken High football team. I have Jeremiah Green, J.J. Corley, and C.J. Hazel with me here. And for starters, for each of you, I just want to chat a little bit about kind of what are some of your hopes and expectations for this season, and how do you feel about going into the season? We can start with Jeremiah.
Well, the one thing this year I want us to do, make sure we play together as a team and finish strong through the game and all. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Definitely, I would say definitely not going 0-10 again. Like I say, playing as a team and actually really running the region this year, really. That's one of the goals.
I think one of the biggest goals this year is playing as a team and realizing what our talent is and ability is as a team and whatnot. We got a real better coaching staff this year, and a lot of fundamental things we got better at this year, so I think we're going to have a much better season.
For each of you, obviously, 2 of you guys played DB, and kind of you're a linebacker and all on the defensive side of the ball. Kind of, what do you feel about this year's defense, and kind of how have your roles changed or stayed the same, and what are some of the things you think you personally improved on?
Well, I think one thing we improved on knowing how our coverage is supposed to be, where we're supposed to be, and all that, and just learning the plays, how it's supposed to be run.
I say not just that, but like with the new coaching staff, defensive coordinator we got bringing in new plays or whatever. Everybody, like I say, same assignments or whatever, still know what you got to do on different plays or whatever, like doing your job, not doing nobody else's or whatever. Like I say, being fundamentally sound or whatever, and just being smart as a player.
I say better on defense is understanding, reading plays and whatnot, like making little adjustments to make bigger plays happen and whatnot. we've been put in proper position to make plays, and it's just our job.
You touched on it a little bit, not wanting to go on 10. Kind of, for this group, kind of obviously that's a tough thing to go through. What does it say about the group of guys that stuck it out and stayed around and are still kind of playing hard and coming out there again this season?
Yeah, I said it definitely was tough, like, you know what I'm saying, getting to the end of the season, you know what I'm saying, being 0-10 and not winning one game or whatever. But like I said, the group of guys we got, like I said, we brothers or whatever, we stuck it out together and we know that better was coming. Like our coach said, man, it was just a minor bump in the road or whatever, you know what I'm saying. And God brought it through us. God brought this, like I say, to come up on us for a reason or whatever. Now it's just time to bounce back, like I say, and like I say, don't let it happen again.
And just learn from it.
Yeah.
I feel like really the 0-10 season brought us better together. It just showed us that we just thought more highly of ourselves than what we was actually putting in and getting work out of and whatnot, and made us stronger as a pack. So the people that we started with, those people we can eat with.
All right, we're here with two more representatives from the Aiken High football team. I have with me Alex Thomas and Stavon Porter. And for each of you guys, kind of what are some of the things you're looking forward to this season, and how do you feel, how well prepared do you feel going into the year?
I feel well prepared because we are working 10 times harder than we were last year, and the coaches, the better we can see we going into a good season, I can say.
We just trying to set goals and set a better record for ourselves at Aiken High since coming off last year. And, you know, we're just trying to do better, take it day by day, step by step.
Both of you guys were big parts of the offensive game last year. Kind of, what are some of the things that you guys have been working on, and kind of how do you feel things will flow this season for you guys on that side of the ball?
Offense, I think, is going to be good because the line are working 10 times harder. And last year, the line was young. We had a lot of sophomores, but they stepped up to the plate, and I think they're going to have a great opportunity this year.
Yeah, we got some good threats on the offense, so I think we should be dangerous. So.
And we're here with two more representatives of the Aiken High football team. I have with me Corey Wallace and also Willie McDuffie. Going into the season, kind of, what are some of the things you're hoping to be able to contribute to the offense? Are you still going to be in the same role, or kind of what are some things you're hoping to be able to add to that?
I'm hoping to be more of a leader this year. You know, play more aggressive than I did last year. You know, first time starting was last year, so hoping I'm kind of more in the groove this year. You know, kind of more confident than I was last year. And yeah, I still play the same role. Yeah, basically.
And for you?
As for safety position, it was my first time starting too last year. I had to play a big role of being like a team leader and like controlling like what should we do on defense to help offense to score. But I feel like we can do it and we're gonna come together, and I feel that everything I say and everything I do will contribute them to inspire them to do better with us.
For you also in the transition, somewhat kind of a little bit of splitting time last year, and kind of now kind of more of a veteran on the team. What's that been like, and kind of what do you feel like you've improved on and added to your repertoire?
More confidence. I feel like my confidence built up a whole lot this season playing, and then my chemistry with my receivers built up a whole lot. My confidence.
All right, and what do you think the biggest thing you've improved on, and kind of your key attribute for going into this season?
Working hard every day at practice, listen to my coaches, and just doing whatever they tell me to do. It's like I feel like my confidence went up too, and I feel like we can all do it, and I can do it too.
And for each of you, what do you think the biggest thing you learned from the last season, and how that went in the rough year?
Discipline. That's a big thing I learned, that we needed to be more successful with discipline.
I learned that everything is not going to go your way. You got to lose games, you got to win games. In the end, you got to come back strong.
All right, and now we're going to take it up Highway 19 and head on down to Johnston and chat with some of the guys from Strom Thurmond High School. And they also had a fairly decent season last year, made the playoffs, got a tough matchup. what are some of the things you're expecting to see out of them this year?
What's interesting with Thurmond is we look at a guy in Jaquan Harris, a returning quarterback who did a lot of those Strom Thurmond quarterback things that we've grown used to, filling in nicely for the void left by Tyrese Nick. Now, one thing that will be interesting to look at is where that production comes from in the running game. When you take a guy like Jaquan Edwards, who, I mean, what more can you say about him? The guy put up literally thousands of yards last year. But if there's one thing we know about Thurmond, they've got the athletes to get it done, and they've got another workhorse running back waiting in the wings somewhere.
And here's what some of those athletes had to say about the upcoming season. We're here with a couple representatives from the Strom Thurmond High School football team. I have with me defensive end Robert Witt and linebacker Ford Williams. And as part of the defensive unit this year, I guess for each of you guys, what is the thing that you guys are most looking forward to and has you most excited about this unit that you have? Start with Robert.
Well, first we got everybody, like we got almost everybody back, and like so we already in jail together, so just having fun with them.
And as one of the guys that were on the team last year and one of the leaders, and then having to sit out some time with injury, what are you most looking forward to finally getting back out there?
I just want to hit somebody. Just keep working. I got faster. Ready to work. Ready to get back at it.
And for each of you, kind of what has it been like kind of working this year in the defensive scheme, and has it been kind of the same, or is there anything different or unique that you guys will do or anything like that?
It's got simplified from last year. A lot less thinking, a lot more just making plays.
Fun, a lot of fun. Just having fun.
And going into this year, what are some of the areas you think you've most improved on, or anything that you're excited to kind of show the fans this year that maybe you didn't have last year?
Definitely the passing protection game, stopping the pass. That's what we're going to be a lot better at. That's what we struggled with last year.
We got a lot faster. A lot faster.
A lot more team speed, too.
As a guy on the defensive line, obviously you guys are missing a big part of what kind of helped y'all there last year, and kind of how have guys been stepping up to help fill that void left by Trey?
We've been doing good because, well, the coach always told us, like, don't hop on it, like, because he ain't here no more. Like, we had fun with his hill, but he ain't here no more, so the next man got to step up.
All right, we're here with a couple more representatives from the Strom Thurmond High School football team. I have receiver Dante Holloway and safety Tavian Griffin. And going into this season, obviously, what are some of the things you guys are both most looking forward to, and kind of some of the things you expect to show the fans this season?
Well, we got a bunch of seniors that left, so I just want to see what the team can put together this year and see what we can accomplish this season.
Gotcha. And for you?
Just making sure everybody there, holding everybody accountable, and just making sure we're consistent with what we're doing.
And I was speaking to the guys earlier about the defensive side of the ball. One of the things that Ford said was you guys got much better against the pass. And kind of as a safety, can you kind of speak to what led to that and how you guys have developed as a unit?
Just the chemistry, summer days, we had our little workouts or whatever, after those workouts we'll, hey, come to the field and, we work out together, so that, helps a lot.
On the offensive side, obviously, at receiver, obviously, Jaquan's back for another year and kind of been in the role a little bit more now. How's the pass game come along on that side?
Well, our quarterback, he has a great arm, and we have a lot more speed than we did last year, so it should be good.
Gotcha. And as part of that, kind of how has your role changed or maybe developed some at receiver this season?
Well, this year, I had to be more of a step up into a more leader role, kind of use my voice more because we have younger receivers stepping up. So.
On the defensive side, obviously, talked about a little bit. In your role, what are some of the things you think you've personally gotten better at and can show out there in the field?
Just talking more, communicating, and when younger guys mess up, you got to teach them defense. Give them time, but also work with them. Don't yell at them, work with them, build them up.
Keep your family comfortable all year long and save money on your utility bills with a preferred client service program from Holley Heating and Air. Holley's service program includes priority service, no overtime charges, 15% off all repairs, plus a regular duct system inspection. And should you suddenly need us, we're here for you with emergency service 24/7, 365 days a year. So turn to the experts, Carrier, and the comfort pros at Holly Heating and Air. A name you know, a name you trust.
And now we're going to move down to the Class 2A level and talk a little bit about Barnwell High School. And they're a team that has been to the lower state championship game the past 2 seasons but haven't been able to get over their hump. And this season they can expect some changes because of that.
Yeah, you know, in terms of how realignment has shifted things, it'll be a different look within region. But when we talk about getting over that hump, the team I think that we think about is Bamberg-Ehrhardt, who has really been a thorn in Barnwell's side, not just the past couple years, but for a while now. They are still region opponents. They're still there in the lower state together. You have to assume that that road for Barnwell will have to run through Bamberg-Ehrhardt. So yeah, we'll see some different things offensively. You think about the things that we know Barnwell for: a big physical offensive line, a bruising run game, you know, physical defense with lots of speed in the defensive backfield. We're going to see that, but maybe we're going to see it a little differently than in years past.
Yes, they have some things up their sleeves this year, and this is what head coach Dwayne Garrick and a couple of his players had to say about that. We're here with some representatives from Barnwell High School now, and we have head coach Dwayne Garrick, offensive lineman Briggs Kiersey, and wide receiver Ty Frazier. And for starters, coach, kind of what are some of your expectations this season, and kind of what are you looking forward to most?
Well, you know, we're going into now my 4th year back at Barnwell High School, so you know, our guys really know the terminology and the things we're trying to get accomplished. And you know, I've been fortunate the last couple of years to go 12-2 and playing lower state championships, just make the expectations even higher. So you know, we expect to play well, expect to do well in our region, and then hopefully make a good run in the playoffs.
Gotcha. And speaking of playoff runs, now 2 years in a row, you've been right there on the doorstep. Kind of, what's it going to take that next step, and kind of, and how have you kind of talked to the kids about that and sustaining that kind of level of play?
Well, we kind of, you know, we've revamped what we do on offense a little bit. We try to be a little more one back and put the ball in some playmakers' hands. We feel like we got on offense. Really like Craig Pender, a young quarterback that we got. Throws the ball extremely well, and you know, we just work hard in the weight room and try to continue to improve each day, and I think it'll take care of itself.
Gotcha. And speaking of Craig, obviously stepping into that role and replacing Pete, kind of what things does he offer that kind of change the offense for you, and kind of how has he stepped into that role of being the kind of the leader by way of being quarterback?
Well, you know, Pete was a great leader for us as well. He did a really good job, and you know, he's headed to Newberry College. Wish him the best of luck, but you know, Craig's probably surrounded with a few more wideouts than we probably had in the past, and that's helped him. So being able to stretch it too, stretch the field a little more, and give Brandon Harvey a little more options running the football. You know, we've been in the wishbone, everything's so compact in there. When you get those last couple ball games, it's really tough, especially against opponents who are really physical on defense.
And with this offense, obviously, one of the things that's been strong for you guys time and time again has been the offensive line with guys like Briggs and everyone else on that line. What do you see from the line this year, and kind of how have you seen them grow?
You know, we got two young guys in Briggs and Isaiah that played a tremendous amount of snaps on Friday night. Nathan Miller, our center's back. You know, we got to replace 2 offensive guards. We feel good about Derek Jones, and we're still looking, you know, to figure out who's going to play the other slot for us, and that'll come as time goes on here through practice. We start getting in some scrimmages, but you know, I actually coach the offensive front, take a tremendous amount of pride in it, and you know, I'm smart enough to know that our team and our season is going to go based on how well our offensive line plays. So, you know, there's a lot of pressure there on myself and pressure on those guys to do things the right way. And you know, again, going into the 4th year with terminology staying the same, that's helpful. The biggest part this year is, and our guys know, is that we're going to have to play a little more in space as offensive linemen. You know, in the wishbone, everything's tight in there, so it makes it a little bit easier to fit. But when you start stretching out in the one-back offense, and your offensive lineman got to be a little more mobile, You know, they got to be able to get out there in space and get on linebackers, and so that's going to be the part that we're going to be looking for early to make sure our guys can adjust and get it done.
And Briggs, kind of, what's it been like for you as a player, kind of adapting and kind of getting to know the system and working on it?
Well, since I've been in the system since a freshman, it's been great. Coach has really developed me a long way from day one, and every day it's a grind. We go down there and we get to practice. We just work. You know, obviously playing as a freshman on Friday nights has helped me a lot too. But just Coach is just tremendous when it comes to all that stuff. He knows everything when it comes to O-line, and he's helped me a lot. I've learned a lot in the last 2 years, going on 3.
For you, obviously, as one of the wideouts that kind of is going to be dependent on now in the changing offense, what are some of the things you've kind of worked on or maybe altered a little bit in your game?
Working on footwork, coming out the routes, pretty crispy.
Gotcha. And what was kind of the initial reaction kind of when you realized that more was going to be put on you and kind of in terms of the offense and things like that?
I liked it. I wanted a shot at it, and he basically gave it to me.
Gotcha. On the defensive side, you guys have a lot of talent as well, and some guys coming back, especially at linebacker. Kind of, what have you seen from that unit, and or can we expect any changes there, or is it more of the kind of the same defensive scheme that we've come used to?
The scheme will probably stay a lot like it's been. You know, we feel really good about what we're doing on defense. Feel like we got 11 guys that can really run around and play. I feel like we'll be as strong defensively as we've been since I've been back. You know, we got Deshaun Watson, you know, as an outside linebacker, he's projected as one of the best linebackers in the state coming out of his class. We're going to take Julius Arnold and move him inside, so Julius and Deshaun will both be inside. And we got guys on the edge. Reggie Roberts has played, you know, a ton of reps out there at corner for us. Good playmaker. Markel Corley will probably be at the other corner. And up front, we got guys that's got a tremendous amount of experience. Ernest Smith, you know, played a ton of snaps last year for us. Maurice Watson, Copeland Burbage, James Raber. We got a lot of guys that we can play inside. So I really like our depth on defense, but I like the fact we got guys that can run around. I mean, they got good foot speed. You know, they can play, they can swarm to the football, and so really we're in hopes that a little more of our success this year is going to come from just the fact that we're going to be pretty good on defense.
Obviously, the kicking game has been big for you guys in recent years. Do you still expect that to be a thing, and kind of how special teams developed so far?
It's definitely a huge part of the game, without a doubt. We got a couple young guys that are competing for the spot. And Ty does most of our punting for us. He does a great job there. You know, we expect to be able to put really good players out there on special teams. Put a lot of emphasis on that in practice, and it's really key. I think the biggest part that means the most to me from a kicking standpoint is touchbacks. Being able to put the ball in the end zone where people can't come out. You got to go 80 yards every time they touch it. So. We'll continue to put emphasis on the kicking game, and hopefully one of these 2 young guys can step up and get the job done for us.
And now we're going to shift gears and head on over to one of Barnwell's rivals, Silver Bluff. They have a lot of changes as well, the main one being their head coach, but they get to keep Barnwell on that schedule, even though they're in a different region, and they're looking for some big things this season.
You know, actually, when D'Angelo Bryant was introduced as the new head coach over at Silver, one of the first things I wanted to ask him was, well, hey, with realignment and everything, how are we keeping Barnwell on the schedule over there? And when you bring in a former Silver Bluff legend to coach the team, you know he's going to make sure Barnwell stays on that schedule. So sure enough, it's a non-region game now, one that obviously they are very excited about because Barnwell's had the upper hand in that rivalry lately. Now, when we look at what Silver Bluff is doing these days with D'Angelo Bryant returning, it's a different attitude. It's not the Silver Bluff of the past couple years. They're really getting back to basics, getting back to that bulldog mentality. And obviously, I mean, the excitement level is super high over in Petticoat Junction.
Gotcha. And here's some of the things that Silver Bluff and D'Angelo Bryant had to say when they came by. Here with some representatives from Silver Bluff High School for participating in our media days. I have head coach D'Angelo Bryant, and quarterback Jamal Washington, and linebacker Jamie Bing with us here. And coach, for starters, obviously to get right into it, what's it like to be back on the Bluff?
It's an honor. Tell people since day one, since I've been chosen for the job, it's just truly an honor to be back at my alma mater. But more than anything, it's just great to be able to lead a group of great young men, in particular these two seniors who've already decorated so much great leadership, and just to be able to try to get this thing back on the winning path.
And obviously, coming back and leading the squad now, obviously everyone can expect some changes. What are some of the changes fans can expect, and kind of what style do you bring to the Silver Bluff program?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we always got to start with tradition whenever we talk about Silver Bluff football. And these guys, young men, hear me talk about it every single day, is that we expect to have a standard, and to the expectations of Silver Bluff football is always going to be something that's going to continue, and we want these guys to pass that on and create their own legacy. So, you know, the biggest thing for me coming into this job is I just want to make sure that, you know, the things that they have strengths at, that I kind of capitalize on, and to capitalize on this great senior leadership right now. That's the biggest thing. This is a group of seniors who've played a lot of football, but they've also been through 3 different coaches, you know, starting with me over the last 4 years. The great part about it, you know, these guys, their freshman year was under my former head coach, Coach Lown, and I think that they see some of the same principles that I carry on through Coach Lown as well. So just really getting back to that type of standard is my #1 priority for these guys, but to also kind of bring a little bit of my style, my flavor of some things that I've done, some different places I've been, and some of the leaders who kind of showed me some of the different ropes as well, to be able to pass the torch to these young men.
Gotcha. And obviously with those changes, everyone likes to know what the offensive and defensive schemes are going to look like and what they're going to be watching. So how much can you tell us about that, and what can fans expect in terms of that?
Well, we'll go back to the old wing team. No, I'm just kidding. No, we'll spread it out a little bit. I think one of the great attributes that we have is we do have a ton of athletes that will be taking the field for us, and you know, to be able to just spread it out a little bit, and you know, look at some different things with a tight end set, some H-back, you know, and be able to utilize, you know, some things in the run-pass option game. I think is going to be really good for us. We'll carry some of those wing tee principles into some of the style that we're doing, but we also have some of this new style spread system as well.
Gotcha. And Jamal, for you, obviously as the quarterback, kind of what's it like to be going into that kind of new direction, and kind of how do you feel about the way things are going so far and adapting to that?
Well, I feel good about it. It's just fun learning new offense.
Gotcha. And obviously, in your role changing a little bit, I know over the course of the years you've kind of been shuffled around a bit. You spent some time at running back. What's it been like to be able to kind of focus on being quarterback and kind of have that knowledge of being able to know that you're playing right there and you won't have to kind of move around?
It's easier because you just focus on that one part.
On the defensive side of the ball, kind of what can people expect from Bluff this year?
Well, we're very active. I'm going to tell you that right now. I think those guys up front are a group of guys, a group of young men who can create some havoc up front. And then when you start talking about guys like Jamie and you know, Jarvis Brown, who's also be a senior, and Jimmy, who's somebody who will play both sides of the ball for us. We have a lot of veteran leadership, but we also have some thumpers in the middle as well. And then we also return a really good secondary. 3 seniors that'll be on that side of the ball. John Green, Damian Green, 2 guys have started a lot of football games over the last 2 years, and also Justin as well, who's probably, you know, one of our better tacklers in the secondary. You know, so we're returning some guys that I think, in my opinion, I describe them as being just an active group. And it starts really from the middle of that defense at the linebacker position.
And speaking of that position, obviously, Jamie, big role will fall to you, and as a senior leader, kind of what are some of the things you're looking forward to in this scheme, and kind of some of the things you hope to set the tone from the linebacker position?
A few things we like to set the tone from the linebacker position is that you don't get nothing easy on our defense. We take pride in our defense a lot. The defense really kept us in a lot of ball games this year and this past year with what we had going on, and it's just a big impact on what we have going on this year.
Gotcha. And kind of, as your role on defense, kind of, what are some of the goals you hope to achieve both personally and as a team this season?
As a team, we plan to be the best defense in Aiken County and in our region. Moving into a new region, taking that into effect. But we want to be closer together, because when you're close as a defense, you have a better defense, and you really get to know what the person on your left and the person on your right can do, and you can help him on that and help be a better team.
All right, now we're moving on down to the Class A level, and one of the most dominant teams in our area in that classification has been Williston Elko over the years, and they expect more of the same this year, but there will be some changes, and they've lost some talent, but they have some guys that they're looking forward to replacing them.
Yeah, Williston Elko, they know that there's a lot of pressure on them. They welcome that. They embrace it, and that's a team that, that's why they win that region year in, year out. They know that within that region 3A, you have to go undefeated to win it. Well, Williston Elko is the team that goes undefeated in it pretty much every year. Now, we are looking at some changes. A key one is at the quarterback position with Tyron Parker graduating. Lots of changes throughout, especially at the linebacker position. But, it's Williston Elko. They churn these guys in, year out. And when you have superstars like Keyshawn Toney that do things that Williston Elko way, there's no reason to think they won't be right up there at the top of that region again.
Gotcha. And here are some of the things that Williston Elko had to say about those very things and what they're looking forward to this season. All right, we're here with a couple representatives from the Williston Elko football team. We have head coach Derek Youngblood, we have Jazion Washington Dix, and we also have Keyshawn Toney here with us. And for starters, Coach, kind of what are you looking forward to, and kind of what are your expectations for the upcoming season?
We've had a really good summer. Our guys have been very committed. Biggest thing for us this year was just trying to figure out how we were going to go about replacing a lot of guys that had played a lot of football for us. And we just started out in the spring, and just day by day we saw glimpses of guys just taking on new roles from a leadership standpoint, to just maybe having to play another spot that they haven't really played in the past. But I think it just goes back to the kind of guys that we have in our program. Every year we sit back and wonder, how are we going to continue to play at the level that we're used to playing at? And it really just falls back on our guys. I mean, their commitment level, and I think the pressure that they put on themselves to keep up the tradition at Williston Elko is something that we don't talk a whole lot about, but we all feel it every day. And again, our guys just come to work and just do a good job of just trying to get better every day.
Gotcha. And you spoke about replacing some of those players, and we'll get into both sides of the ball of some of the guys you have to replace. We'll start out on the offensive side. Kind of what's it going to take to kind of fill those shoes at quarterback, at running back, and how do you expect the offense to kind of flow this year?
Well, I mean, we've got to try to find, we're not going to find one person to do everything that Tyron did. So we're going to have to try to kind of have multiple guys kind of step up and play. We really feel like we've got two guys that can play for us at quarterback, and Trace Rhines and Javier Rudolph. And both of those guys are going to have the opportunity to play because both of them deserve to play. Their skill sets are very similar, but the best thing about it is both of those guys can help us other places on the field when they're not at quarterback. Running back wise, we feel like we've got 3 or 4 guys that are going to be able to play there for us. Jairus Tobin, Kendall Brown, Furious Knight Hudson are 3 guys that we're really going to kind of lean on in the backfield, and just hoping that we can just continue to run the ball so that we can be able to do other things off of that.
Okay. And on the defensive side of the ball, you have a lot to replace at the linebacker position in particular with Jasper and Jasper now gone, and Evander. And So what's it going to take to kind of fill those shoes, and kind of what can we expect from the defense this season?
I think early on for us it's going to be a work in progress. I still think that it's going to take a few scrimmages and maybe even jamborees and maybe even into the regular season before we get all the pieces in the right place. You're talking about losing 2 guys at linebacker that made a lot of plays. Then you talk about DeMarcus and Medicus as well. There was a lot of playmakers on that side of the ball for us over the last 2 or 3 years, and we're going to have to just go in there with some younger kids, and but we feel good about the ones that we've got. We feel like they've committed themselves to learning what we do scheme wise and in the weight room. So we're looking for some big things out of those guys. Both Keyshawn and Jayzion, both of them play a really vital role for us. Both of them are probably the 2 leaders on our defense. And so we know that those guys, they've played a lot of football too. So we feel like they'll be able to lead that group. And hopefully by the time we get in region play, we'll have everything worked out and we can make a run at that.
For each of the players, I wanted to ask you, kind of going into this season, what are some of your goals both for the team and personally this year?
I want to win region again and, just have a better season than last year.
Yeah, the same thing he said. Want to win region, want to make a run at the state, lead the team the best way we can. Cause like what Coach spoke on earlier, the most pressure you have is like keeping up the tradition. Cause we got a lot of friends that we talk to like every day that played last year and played the years before. So it's gonna be like hard keeping up the tradition. And if you don't, then it's bragging rights for me. So.
And well, kind of you spoke to it a little bit, but what's that like? Always having kind of this expectation that Williston is going to be best in the region, knowing that you guys have to put up a strong season each year. Kind of, how do you guys handle that kind of pressure, so to speak?
Make us work hard.
Yeah, the way he said it, make us work harder, because it can be tough sometimes, but I mean, we only can control what we can control. We can't control what other people do, so whatever we can do, that's what we're going to do.
Schedule-wise, what's it kind of like a little different? What are some of the things you're looking forward to on the schedule, and kind of how do you assess the schedule that you guys have this year?
Well, I think if you go back and look, I guess probably would say for the last 10 years, we try our best to get a tough schedule up front. Just simply because we want to have our guys tested and feel like we've gone against some really, really good competition. For us, the first game is always a big game for us. We'll play Barnwell, and it's a good, clean, fun rivalry. Our kids have grown up with each other. They've played against each other. There's a lot of, of course, a lot of coaching connections on both sides of that. With Coach Garrick and myself and Coach Corley, and but for us, it's just a good night of high school football. It's probably going to be the biggest crowd that you play against until you make the state championship game. But it's just good for both of our communities, and we look forward to that. Week 1, we'll go to Silver Bluff and go against them, and that's a place that we've gone over and have a pretty good running relationship with those guys too. And so we look forward to going over there. My big thing for guys is when we sit down and start making schedules out, I think it's real fun for our young kids to have an opportunity to go play at a place like Silver Bluff. It's a lot of tradition there. Our programs are very similar in the way that we want to run them. So just to be able to go and play in a place where football is important there, just like it's important at our place. And then really the only change in our non-conference schedule is that we switched out Woodland and we're going to play Allendale Fairfax. And again, for us, we just feel like it's a game that's, schools are close. We haven't played them. And this will be my 11th year in Williston. We haven't played them on the varsity level since I've been there, but they played them I think 2 or 3 years previous to that. So we're gonna kind of rekindle that one up, and hopefully we have good crowds when they come over here and we go over there, and then we get into region play. And I think that our region is going to be a very tough region this year. I really do. I think that you're going to have some teams that are going to get better. I think that both Ridge Spring and Wagner Salley both bring back some really, really good players, and those 2 teams are going to be teams that are going pushing to win it. I mean that's what they're telling their kids every day, and You know, so we know that those are two teams, and you know, I think a team like Blackville Hill is getting ready to make a push. I think Coach Crosby and staff that he's put together, I think they're going to get in there and get those kids back going in the right direction. And you know, week in and week out, we feel like once we get in region play, it's not only going to be a dogfight, but it's going to get us all prepared for what's going to happen, so we can make a playoff run.
All right, and now moving around in that very same region, Wagner Salley is one of those teams that is looking to knock off Williston Elko, and they feel like they have a big chance to win region this year. And going into it, the players and Coach Fox seem pretty fired up about their opportunity.
Yeah, this is a Wagner Salley team that really burst onto the scene last year. You know, won 8 games, and they have emerged as a team that, you know, between Ridge Spring, Monetta, and even if we go out of our area to a Hunter, Kennard, Tyler, I mean, these are the teams that you expect to challenge for that region championship. Wasn't always the case with Wagner Salley. I mean, it's a big deal that this is a stage that they've reached, and I think they know that if they're going to do it, the time may be now. You know, great run game, you know, ferocious, swarming defense. I mean, they were able to get things done, I mean, really in a simple yet complex way last season. And, you know, that's a formula that, you know, they can tinker with it a little bit, but it's been very good to them.
Yes, and Willie Fox and the players made no doubt about that. They knew what was ahead of them, and here's some of the things they had to say about overcoming the obstacle of Williston. Willie Fox, head coach of the Wagner Salley football team, and kind of for starters, we can jump right in. Kind of, what are some of your expectations for this season and goals that you guys have for the team?
You know, for the past 2 years, we've won 8 ball games. Finished with a final record of 8-3 for 2 years in a row, and for 3 years in a row, we've lost out in the first round of the playoffs. And we want to do better than that this year. Where our goal is to advance into the playoffs, advance farther than the first round of the playoffs. And our number one goal, however, is to win the region. We feel like we've put in the work now. We feel like we're in a position to the point where we feel like we can win our region. Now we know that we're going to have to do some things that we've never done before. For example, you know, I'm not calling anybody out, but we've got to beat Williston Elko, and Wagner Salley hasn't done that in nearly 25 years. So if you know, we know that that's where the road goes through Williston, Ridge Spring, and Blackville every single year in our region. And if we want to win it, we know that's what we have to do. So that's our number one goal, is to try to win our region, and we're going to go from there.
Gotcha. And with that tough region, kind of, it's one of those interesting things to where some regions you'll end up being in a situation where you can have some slip-ups or something, but in a region like this, you kind of know you have to knock off Williston, but also you have to not have that lapse, because it's probably going to take undefeated record to win it. So kind of, how do you prepare the kids mentally and kind of get them adjusted to that?
Well, you know, our region's a little different because there's 8 teams in our region, so you play 7 region games. You know, most regions around the state, you play 5 region games, so you get a chance at the beginning of your season to play those 5 non-conference games to kind of get you ready for your region schedule. Well, we get 3 non-region contests. So, you know, we're always harping on, you know, we got to be ready, because we can't have a slip up, and we have to be ready every single week, because every single week's like a playoff game. And just like you said, if you want to win our region, you basically have to go undefeated in our region. You have to win every game, because you can't slip up. You don't want to leave anything to chance at the end of the year where you're in a 2-way tie with somebody or something like that. So, you know, we've been there before, and we've lost out on those tiebreakers, not for the region championship, but for, you know, a chance to get a home playoff game or an away playoff game. So, you know, we want to do what it takes and go undefeated in our region. So, you know, we're talking about it. We're talking to our kids about that all the time.
All right. And with that, obviously, you have a lot of talent returning, so you're kind of fortunate in that sense. So what's it like to have all that veteran talent coming back, and how is that going to help in that goal?
Well, you know, most of the time we've talked the past couple of years, I've used the word young a lot. You know, we've been very, very young. We've been starting freshmen and sophomores on pretty much at pretty much every position, you know, offensively, defensively, and special teams. This will be the first year we're not young. This is the first year where we're going to have a lot of juniors and seniors starting at pretty much every position. I was thinking the other day, you know, every year I've been at Wagner Salley, we've had freshmen starting. and I can't think of a freshman that's going to be starting this year. So we feel like we're in a position now. We've put ourselves in a position, and we've got so much talent returning. We graduated 6 guys last year, and we lost some important players, but we didn't lose a lot of players. And we've got so many guys returning that I feel like, you know, this if we're going to make a run, our window's going to close here soon, and we need to get it done. You know, I don't want to say our window's going to close because you're always trying to build for the future, but we've got an opportunity here that we can't waste.
And with that, obviously, you spoke about having to replace some guys. Kind of in that, you get a quarterback that's kind of been in that position a little bit before, so you kind of have someone to step in that. So how's the kind of the offense going to run this year, and kind of what are some of the things you guys are hoping for?
Well, we're gonna spread it out a little more than what we have in the past. We've got a quarterback now that's he's been a 2-year starter, and he's coming back for his 3rd year, and we feel like we can give him a little bit more responsibility within our offense. We're going to spread it out now. Anybody that knows me knows we're going to run the football. Our base is going to be a wing style offense. But we are going to spread it out. We're going to try to throw the ball because we do feel like that's what we need to do to be successful against some of the better teams that we play. You know, when these teams load up the box, we can't block them all. So we've got to be able to throw the ball. And we do feel like that our quarterback is in a position now that he can take some of the weight on his shoulders and handle the load.
We're here with a couple of Wagner Salley War Eagle players, and I have with me Denzel Kitchings, Josh Davis, and Dalton Fields. Obviously, some of the leaders of this Wagner Salley team. And to get into it, for each of you guys, kind of what are some of your goals, both personally and for the team this season? And we can start over there with Dalton.
For me, you know, it's growing. It's, you know, the brotherhood. I'll, you know, stay strong with my friends and, you know, have fun, but we all want to win. It's, you know, it's our year. It's time to get things done.
For me, I just want to build this bond so that, because that's what we've been losing a lot in the past few years, that teams had chemistry and we don't. And I want to build that this year for this team because we've got a big chance to win region.
What's you guys' favorite part of kind of this unit that you have, or what are you maybe most looking forward to about seeing on the field from this unit?
We're a lot older, we're a lot bigger, a lot faster, a lot stronger in a lot of different positions, and it's going to be fun to watch.
It's just unpredictable. I know we're going to get out there this year, and I just want to see coaches them on the sideline dancing after we catch wins.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. It's just seeing us pass the ball is going to be the most exciting thing, really. Because I'm just so used to us just running the ball and running the ball and running the ball. Seeing us pass the ball and really spreading the ball out would be the most exciting thing.
Because we got so many athletes now. We got Caleb Shaw, he's there. We got Roger. We got Elijah Davis. We got Antonio Sweetenberg now. We got Denzel. We got Kevin Tex. We got a bunch of athletes. And we got Michael back there, and he feeling good now. He's pretty settled back there now.
All right, well, that's been our trip through area football for this season and some of the things that the teams are looking forward to this year. We're looking forward to getting out there and seeing a lot of them in action. We have the Aiken Standard Game of the Week returning, where we will see several of these teams and broadcast them live on aikenstandard.com and our YouTube channel, as well as each week we will be back here hosting a show and talking about all the things high school football in the area. So we look forward to seeing you then. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Holly Heating and Air and Just Julie's. Just Julie's provided some the hospitality room for some of the athletes. So we want to thank them, and we look forward to seeing you this season.